All right. You know that I hate that timer. I cannot wait until that timer ends. It's super awkward to just sit here with the guests, just looking at each other and just looking like, come on, that timer needs to end. Welcome to another stream. I'm super excited for this one. I want to welcome, because I'm going to butcher the name, because we tried it 17 times. He tried my name, I tried his name. Welcome Segun to the stream. I'm super, super excited to have you here, because I couldn't wait. I have so many questions about Chakra UI, but first of all, welcome. How's it going?
Awesome, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I mean, I'm really excited. I mean, I think most of the time I always see your stream about Chakra UI, building some landing page components. And then I'm like, I mean, I need to watch this stream, whether I'm at work or not. I mean, I just want to check it out. So it's really amazing to be here to talk about Chakra UI. I mean, I'm excited.
Can't wait. It's been long overdue. Let's see what people say in the chat first, because usually they have complaints about, you know, the music, about the guest volume and so on. And what they're saying is the guest volume is a little bit too low. And that shouldn't be the case. That's weird. Let's see. Daniel says the guest volume is too low. What if I stop the music? Because we've been trying to mess with this music before the stream. Let's set the music to like 4. Segun is a bit too quiet. Because there's no way for me to boost him without boosting the music. Can you try saying something again like this? Like whatever. Welcome
I'm really excited to be here.
And there's no way in Windows to boost Zoom. Maybe you can boost something on your side, but I don't think so.
Let me just check quickly.
Yeah, because I can hear you perfectly fine. And Daniel says it's
right now I'm on the highest volume, so I
highest volume.
Yeah.
There's something that I can do here, I guess. So that should be fine. Advanced video properties. Let me just boost the desktop audio capture to 125, I guess. 125%. That might be a little bit too loud, but what do you say, viewers? Let's try it again.
Okay, hey guys, I'm really excited to be here. Welcome to the stream.
Welcome to the stream. Now, it should be fine now, because I boosted to 125. Move mic closer, says Mr. S and something. Cannot read your name. You need at least to double the volume. Okay, let's go with 200%. We should always do this live. I don't know why we have 30 minutes of preparation when in reality is way more than that. Can you hear me? How about now? No? Hello? Okay. Hey, by the way, everybody, this is a Zoom call. And you know how Zoom calls are. Even in 2020, you start a Zoom call and everyone is like, it's fine, Mike? It has to start like that because it's a Zoom call. We're going to fix it in 2030, I guess. Desktop audio capture. Let's just boost this. All right, let's try this now. Once again.
Okay, hey guys, I'm really excited to be here. I mean, I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
I really have no freaking idea what is going on because I boosted to 200% now. Still the same, says Pranit. Well, that's not possible. That's weird.
I'm going to try to move my mic a little bit closer.
Oh, now I think it went overboard. Is it fine now?
I guess so. Let's just confirm from the audience.
Now it's better, says Protimao. Okay, we can hear. Now it's good. Okay. But now it's going to be without music. So that's, if I boost the music now, it's going to be... Hey, by the way, I really appreciate you, everyone who's watching, for debugging the stream with us. This is going to happen on every single stream. Even if I'm streaming for 35 years, guess what? I'm debugging the stream live with you. So thank you very much. Let me go to Chrome and just play some music from there. Because when it's without music, I feel my streams are super empty when there's no music. So sorry for this thing. Let's just... How about now? I think we nailed it now. Now it should be fine. Huh? Music fine. Volume is fine. Segun is fine. Kitze is fine. Musha, Zico, Pranit. Welcome, by the way, everybody. Thanks for joining the stream. Musha says, yeah, better. Yeah, I guess it is better. So, again, sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties, which are going to happen on every single stream. Yeah, so what we're doing before the stream is we're not having like any... We're not talking at all. We're just moving things around, green screens and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess, yeah, what's up? We didn't have much chance to talk except me just moving your face around the stream and the banners and stuff. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. I mean, I think these days, the past few days or months, I would say, I've sort of been working on the next release for Chakra UI. I mean, side by side with my day job as well. So it's been pretty exciting, actually.
I'm excited to see Chakra grow, and I'm excited that you're working full time on that, right? Or are you working on something else?
I have a full-time job, interestingly. So
oh, you have a full-time job?
Yeah, I do.
Are you using?
I work as a design system lead at a company based in Dubai called Trading. Right, so that's what I do.
All right, but are you using Chakra full-time at your job, or you just became a side project and you're using it for other things, but not at your job, actually?
Oh no, I think my job actually started using Chakra UI before I even got the job.
Oh, that's awesome. That's freaking awesome. Because I
Yeah,
feel like what I feel with Sizzy is when you're using it as a user, only then you can see the downsides. If you're just
agree.
building it and putting it out there, it's like you'll never see the actual downsides. And
Yeah, I agree.
so it's awesome that you're actually using it. Just a note for the people in the chat. You can ask all sorts of questions regarding Chakra UI and stuff, but we're not gonna go over the basics, and we're not gonna go over how to. Basically, we're gonna install it and see the basics. But if there's something that could be answered in the docs, you'll find it in the docs. I'm gonna pick some of the questions that I feel they will contribute towards the stream, but I want to keep it like more like the philosophical approach of Chakra versus other things, and we want to talk about the overview, not the actual details of, well, if we have this button and no, we're not gonna dive deep into the technicalities, but we're gonna talk about, you know, the general overview. So first, when did you start this? I found about it, I think last year, but when was it actually released?
It was released like 12th September last year. Last year September 2019, right? That's when it was released. But I think I've been working on it for about close to 1 year before that time. Literally just exploring different ideas and concepts before actually getting to release what we now know as Chakra UI.
Yeah, I think I found out about it from Brian Florence. He was like, check out this library. It has the best accessibility, and it has TypeScript, and it has the best way of overriding the props, basically. And from everything that I saw there, when I saw the way of overriding the props, I was like, holy shit, this was the missing piece. Because I've been always changing the, you know, the CSS-in-js approaches and libraries and so on. So I've went through like starting with, I didn't start with Glamorous. I started with Aphrodite, I think, and then with Radium, and then with, I have no freaking idea, Glamorous, and then Style Components. And just between emotion and style components, it was always the same thing. But I never used the library like Material UI or something else, because when it came to using components, it's great. When it comes to overriding the styles of those components, is a nightmare. You have to go with either some weird CSS way of like, you know, overriding them. So when I saw Chakra, I was like, oh yeah, that was the missing piece to easily override the props. What would you say is that the strongest point of Chakra, or am I completely fucking missing the point? I would say for me that's the biggest benefit, but describe it like in like for people who haven't heard of it. Like, what's your elevator pitch for Chakra? Why should people try it and use it?
Okay. Interestingly, I'm not sure if I've given an elevator pitch before, but I'll just describe it either ways.
I just put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I mean, Chakra UI is like an open source component library that takes care of a couple of things you don't really want to delve into as regards like styling, component, theming, dark mode, light mode. Because I personally feel like, I mean, we as developers or engineers should focus a bit more on high level business goals. I mean, instead of like very nitty gritty stuff like how do you add margin top, or how do you make things responsive, right? So the goal for me, I think, coming from a design background, I mean, I think that actually helped me a lot, because when I use design tools, it makes it like it's super easy to change anything. Right, so like in my head, I felt like, how can I literally replicate the speed of design in code? Right, so that's really one of the major things for me. And then down the line, I realized, okay, there's a bit more aside from styling. There's a bit more things that have to do with semantic HTML, things that have to do with accessibility, things that have to do with composing component behavior. I think that's like those were the key focus for me. So I sort of like tried to put everything under one umbrella called Chakra UI, and I just wanted the ideal experience for me. And I wanted something that was really easy for any normal beginner in JavaScript and React to feel comfortable using. You don't have to be an experienced or a geeky person to know how to like figure out Chakra UI. So that was really the main goal of Chakra.
I've been using it for building the changelog app that I've been building, Fungarzione. So it started as a changelog app for Sizzy. And in my article that I wrote about it, I actually gave a lot of the credit for shipping the app in few days to Blitz. But when I think about it, somebody even mentioned in the chat, I've been watching you for a few days and you haven't written a single line of CSS. That's what they said. And that was actually true. So I never do my designs in Figma or in Photoshop or whatever the hell, because I can, combine things in the code and make them look all right-ish, I would say. I never design first. And I think I've never had a faster experience than just throwing a bunch of chakra boxes and then just giving them props. Anytime I tried to be fast previously, I would, even with style components, I would have to name them and I would have to style them individually with CSS, which distracts you from actually looking at the design. As you said, this seems like with Chakra, I feel like I'm designing in the browser because I'm not switching between too many files. I just throw the things around and I just shuffle them around. And then I think that you can even be more creative with Chakra than in an actual design tool. Because in a design tool, you're just assuming how the data will look like and blah, blah, blah. But when you're doing the actual implementation and design at the same time, some things might surprise you and you just fix them on the spot. Or, because it's at the end of the day CSS, CSS does something fucking weird and you're like, oh, I didn't want that. And you're like, wait, maybe I wanted that. Because it happens, like something's gonna fuck up with CSS and you're gonna be like, what if I put this here and there? So yeah, designing in the browser, especially with Chakra UI, has been the fastest experience I've had as a developer for the past, 10 years. I hate when people say that they're a developer in 10 years when we were writing jQuery for 7 of them. But anyway, best experience hands down when it comes to styling or anything. There are some downsides, of course, and there are some questions that I have for you and that I want to ask you about things. So I think we can dive into that. Let me just see what the chat is saying. By the way, I'll miss a lot from the chat because I'm trying to keep focus here. Welcome everybody and thank you for watching us. I'm trying to keep focus on the chat, on the conversation here instead of a chat. But you know what? I'm more important here than your questions. So I had some questions that I wanted to ask him for a long time. So I'm going to go with my questions first, and then we're going to go back to the chat. And we're going to discuss your questions, and hopefully we're going to answer some things in between. So yeah, I'm going to go to my screen. And we're not gonna go into code. We're just gonna go to that document of migrating to Chakra. Basically, this is a little bit frustrating for us, especially. I had most of my projects are in Chakra, starting from last year when it was announced. Everything that I did is with Chakra 0.0. So when I saw this document, I was like, okay, hopefully it's not that bad. And then I was scrolling, and as I was scrolling, I was like, oh shit, I have to refactor a bunch of things. So now we started moving CZ to actually use Chakra components, but we started with 1 point something, just so we don't have to go through the big migration. So before we go into the document, tell me more about the migration. Why did you decide it? Why is it important? And then we're going to dive into the doc.
Yeah, so I think like right now with version 0.8 of Chakra UI that we have, I think it solves a lot of problem. But I think most importantly, we've learned a lot of lessons from getting feedback from different people, GitHub issues. I think we've taken some time to sort of like listen and sort of like understand what the needs or current pain points are. And I think one of the biggest at some point was TypeScript support. I think we had TypeScript support, but it wasn't really, the types weren't so strong because most of them were literally just type definitions, right?
Yeah.
So literally writing it in native TypeScript would actually challenge us as the core contributors as well, because I would say prior to that, I never had like any serious TypeScript experience. I think I just knew the very basic types, string, number, interface types. And then like you have to get into the very much voodoo and magic of TypeScript, like generics and things that can almost get your head spinning.
Yeah.
Right. So like so that really helped us. I think that was one of the big changes that we made. The other thing that we did is literally to like look at the common layout of websites people create with Chakra UI and sort of like take some lessons from there. What new layout components can we make? How can we simplify the API a little bit? And I think one of the biggest confusion for people is when you start using the props like variant color. I think it's like, what the heck is variant color? Is it a color or like?
I could never get that one right, ever. I always type color variant, then color, and then the fourth time I get it right.
Yeah, so we wanted to just clear up a couple of like confusing parts and just like make it as intuitive as possible. And I think also making all APIs uniform. I think that's one of the things we try to address as well. And then lastly would be addressing the bundle size and tree shaking support for Chakra components, because most people are concerned that if I add Chakra to my project, do I just import the entire 300 kilobytes component, right? How do I just tree shake the ones I don't use? So I think we try to focus a lot on that as well.
How many people are actually, I mean, I know you have a lot of contributors probably because it's open source, but how many people are working on Chakra, like, most of the time? Is
Yeah,
it
most
just
of the time. I think we have 5 core contributors
five
now.
core contributors? All right. Let's look into this doc. So yeah, the main things are better TypeScript support and color mode improvements. Super happy for this. One thing that surprised me actually that I didn't know it's a thing, probably because I was overriding colors so much. In the latest project that I did, this, let me just go and show you the switch, because there's no custom code. It's all Chakra magic basically here. So when you toggle this, none of the components have a hard-coded anything. So basically everything that you see here is a Chakra component, and then just magically even the dialogues or everything else, let me just click here, go to the dialogue, it just works. I think what I did as a mistake in my previous projects is I was always deciding on the color of text, whether I wanted to be a subtle gray or whatever, and then when I imported the dark theme I was like, why doesn't this magically switch? It's annoying. But now I think somebody in the stream pointed out that don't put the color, and then when you have dark and light, Chakra will automatically switch the color. So my first question, actually a struggle that I couldn't figure out, is there a way to actually choose which colors are going to be picked as defaults of every component when it's light or when it's dark? Is that possible on 0 point something version? Because like this is way too strong for a black color, and this is way too white for like a light color. So you want something in between. Is it possible to do it with 0 point something?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I think the mistake we made there is we didn't document this approach. So maybe like the fact that it was undocumented made it a little hard to sort of tweak the dark and light mode colors and backgrounds. But I think what we try to do in V1 is to just make that a bit more explicit, so that you literally have full control of the colors you use.
Yeah, I think that wasn't documented. Not that I read all of the documentation, I'm an idiot. So basically, I'll start using a library, I fall in love with it, but I never ever finish the docs. And I just complain. I complain on Twitter, I complain on my stream. Like, why isn't this fixed? And so I'll be like, Kitze, it's in the docs. And I'm like, oh yeah, shit. I saw that you're doing something for overriding, wherever was that part? For better way to... So variant color is changing into color scheme. Somebody had a question in the chat that's relevant to this. I think Zico asked, why did you change the approach on icons? And I haven't seen that actually. What happened to the icons? Basic interface icons.
So one of the things we did with the icons is like before you literally had to like add icons to the theme object if you wanted to use it in your code.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I mean, I think that was not the right approach, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think that like adding way too many icons to your theme object can bloat your theme object, and it's really hard to tree shake icons that are in an object. There's really no way to get those things out. I mean, to remove icons you don't use or you don't need, right? But if those icons existed as components, I mean, it's way easier to tree shake icons you don't use.
Yeah.
So the main change we made is to like swap the icon name convention to an actual icon component.
Was that the concern, Zico, or is something else the concern? Because I think this is fine. And for this project, we couldn't find a lot of the icons, like there's no rocket. So somebody suggested to use this library that I've never seen before, honestly, React Icons. Here you can find an icon component for anything. We even tried, as a joke, I was like, there's no way there's an icon for anything. And I tried vomit. Guess what? There's an icon for vomit. So in some library... there's an icon for everything. So I guess it's great that you already provide some built-in icons in Chakra, but I guess people will always complain, why don't you have a rocket icon? Why don't you have this icon? Why don't you have that? Are you planning to expand them? Like, if I was you, I would delete them. I would be like, get your icon somewhere else, whatever. But
yeah, exactly. So one of the things we did now is literally to remove the icons package from the core package itself.
Okay.
That's because we want people to focus on like using more standard icon libraries. But if you still need to use Chakra icons, I mean, it's available as a separate package.
Yeah.
You can just install that and use it.
Yeah, I would say fair enough. Fair enough. Zico says, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, I vastly prefer this approach. And now that I found about React icons and how easy it is to just put them into Chakra and style them, I don't think that I'm missing anything on the icon side. Let's see what else. Basically, there are a lot of prop changes. It would be awesome if there's a magical tool to migrate your app, but I guess you have to do everything manually. What would be the biggest thing that you want to, whether it's announce or a change that you want to focus on in version 1, as opposed to going over all the smaller changes?
Yeah, so I mean, I think like one of the biggest ones is like the support for the polymorphic like as prop. Like if you wanted to use a box component as A
Yeah.
as an anchor tag. So I mean, in the current v 0.8, it's really hard to do that because you can't really get any TypeScript
The
support.
types are not correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
types are
yeah.
not correct. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we try to focus on is that works pretty well now. And I mean, I think at some point we ran into some issue with the IntelliSense in VS Code. I mean, it was pretty slow to actually infer the types, but I mean, we made some nice improvements to it, and it works like really fast now. So that's like one of the biggest wins in Chakra. I think another one would be we have this Chakra Provider now. If you scroll up a little bit,
Chakra
there's
Provider.
this Chakra Provider here.
Uh-huh.
So that sort of reduces the amount of work you need to do. You don't have to think about CSS reset or color mode provider and all of those things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Put in Chakra Provider, and if you ever need to reset CSS, just pass a prop.
That's
Reset
awesome.
it.
So this includes the theme provider, the reset, and it includes
Yeah.
dark versus light, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right. And then I think like the big one is as well is the stack component. So we introduced a couple of layout components in Chakra. So if you can search for stack, so I mean, let's just see what that looks like.
This one?
Can you just check the other results, maybe?
Yeah, let's see. Stack. What else do we have to reduce the API?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. So like one of the biggest things we try to do is to make
Okay.
the stack components like responsive, right? So you can sort of like pass in a responsive direction prop. So if you want it to be row or horizontal and vertical, you can just like pass responsive props to the direction. And the same applies for spacing. So you can change the spacing across from mobile to tablet to desktop. I mean, however
That's
you like.
awesome. I mean, this
Yeah.
is usually the thing that you would do to make responsive design now. Like, I haven't had a single media query anywhere in this app that I did, or basically in any app. I don't have media queries anymore. It's either a grid layout or it's a flex layout with some, but this wasn't possible before, so this is awesome. Now the question is, and I forgot to note that, and I had a trouble with it all the time. Why some of the props could be made like with an array, and some of them are fixed as strings? Why isn't like every prop in Chakra? Why can't we have like responsive props as every prop in Chakra? Is there some underlying thing there, or?
I think the only two props that are probably like a little bit different is sort of the size and the variant prop for components. And that's like an upcoming feature we plan to work on. But I mean, the vast majority of style props that we have, background, color, margin top, margin right, literally all of those props can be made responsive. And I'm not really aware of any prop that isn't so responsive aside from size and variant, I think.
I think I'll make a list if there are any unresponsive props, and I'll just tweet you and I'll be like, what the fuck? You promised me all of them are responsive.
Yeah, that's
Pranit,
okay.
Pranit has a good question, and I think I also noticed that regarding tabs. He says, I noticed that the content of modals and popovers is always mounted and is just hidden using the hidden attribute. Is there a way to render the content only when the pop-up/modal is open? And I think we also had this regarding tabs. So when you render a tabs component, everything is mounted by default. So we needed to do some use effect hacks there, to mount the content whenever we want it.
Okay, I see.
So
Okay, cool.
any reason behind that?
To be honest, I mean, I would say like there isn't any reason. I guess like at that point, I mean, that was the knowledge or experience I had. I mean, building the model components. But in V1 it's way better. I mean, I would say like the models don't have their content mounted. I mean, it's only when it's open that you have the content mounted right now. So that's it. So you can feel free to take a look at next.chakraui.com and just play around with it.
Yeah.
Sort of see how the model component works now.
Yeah, the URL is next.chakra-ui.com. Was this bot working? Because I added a bot that should tell people your details, your Twitter, and everything else every 9 minutes. Yeah, it is. So people will have the links to Chakra UI and stuff.
Yeah, and I think as regards like the tabs components you talked about, I mean, I think like a couple of people raised this concern as well, and we've added like support for that. So right now it's only the content of the active tab that actually gets mounted, and
so
isn't mounted.
That's a change in 1.0?
Yeah, that's a change in 1.0.
But can you actually choose whether you want it to always be mounted, or do you want it to not always be mounted, or is just?
Yes, you can choose. I think we added a prop.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
I mean, naming is super hard, but we just have a prop called is lazy. So if you literally just pass that to the component, it's just going to choose whether to do that or not.
That's awesome. I was actually thinking of building, a layer on top of the tabs to do this, but I was like, at some point they're gonna fix it, so why would I bother? That's amazing. Can't wait to migrate. There's so actually no, that's not true. there's so many projects that I have in Chakra, and now I have to sit and manually update them. But it is what it is. Every time I do a stream, and in the stream title there's Chakra, people come to the stream and they will mention every single library on earth. Why not this? Why not that? Why X? Why Z? Why Y? And like, I haven't had the need to, to look at. I'm only changing libraries when I find like a core issue in one of the libraries that I'm using, and it's constantly like bugging me while I'm using it. And then when I see the solution, I'm like, this other thing has a solution. Well, see you, library. And then I drop it. But for now, there's nothing except maybe a couple of things that are not deal breakers, just questions that would make me move to the other thing. And people have promises like, oh, but that other thing is faster or whatever other benefits people see when they don't matter in real, in a real scenario. I'm like, fuck it, this is the best way to do it. So somebody, I think Drigger here, who's working for Prisma, mentioned performance, and that would be a nice thing to talk about for a second, because he said, oh yeah, the API of Chakra, everything is great, but we cannot use it in Prisma because of performance with tables or whatever. And somebody else in the chat was like, that's bullshit. That's actually nothing to, well, I don't see what is the performance overhead in Chakra that you don't already get with whatever theme UI or style system or whatever else. Anything to add there? Anything to, I don't know.
Right now, I think one of the major concerns most people have aside from it being with Chakra UI, with just CSS-in-js in general, I think it's just the runtime issues. And to be honest, I feel like these runtime issues aren't so significant to actually pay enough attention to. Although what I would say is if your app is like super performance sensitive, those runtime issues might end up being very significant over time. But I think that, most applications we build these days aren't that performance sensitive.
99% of them.
Even when we think about these runtime issues, I think they are very light. Most of the time they are almost near zero.
Yeah.
And anytime anyone complains about performance, what I always say is, chances are it's the way you build or architected your application that's causing the performance issue, not the library that you use.
Yeah. There's the dude who had a talk called You're Not Facebook, and he's basically telling his entire audience that you're not Facebook. You're just a small team working on even if you're not a small team or whatever, people care about performance issues before they have performance issues. And that's driving me nuts as a web developer, as a teacher, as whatever the fuck. Anytime someone mentions performance before performance is a problem, drives me nuts. So yeah, Drigger, I think they're using SAS. They're not even using CSS-in-js. But I guess Chakra falls in the category. It's not doing anything special except using CSS-in-js. And it's still using emotion under the hood, right? Even in 1.0.
It's using emotion under the hood. And the thing I'm going to say is like Chakra UI is not just for styling. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes most people make when you think about Chakra UI. Chakra UI handles a lot of the burdens you would have to handle if you want to go super low level. Right, so questions of like how do I compose these components together, semantic HTML, accessibility, and all these area attributes you need to add, and keyboard navigation, all these very low level. Just like I said, I feel like we as engineers need to like try to focus a bit more on the experience and business and the value of what we are making, instead of like very low level discussions like runtime issues, what performance stuff. I feel like right now we have tools to help us optimize these things, right? So maybe we don't want to focus too much on those.
I love that mindset. You know that I share the same mindset, and I'm like, we need to stop caring about the lower level. And what I see is most of the community still has some issue and is trying to, reinvent that lower level. We're reinventing a button. It's 2020. There's a company right now, it's Wednesday, it's still working hours. There's a company right now who's reinventing the button, and that's causing me chest pain because I can't. Like, what I like about Chakra is like, thank you very much, you invented all of these components, and hopefully I won't have to write a single component more than what you have. Because previously in CZ we were using like a combination of different pop-ups, different tooltips, different dialogues, and they all work differently. Whether it was like managing the focus, they had different accessibility. Some of them didn't care about accessibility, some of them did. And now we're transitioning, and it's not easy to transition an app that big, and just remove all the custom things and just replace them with Chakra. But we want that low layer of like making everything accessible and everything works nicely and everything stacks properly. So once you have that, then you focus only on building. You don't focus on what if I have that dialogue and I put that within this and that. So I think that's a huge benefit. But there's still going to be people who are going to be like, well, this adds 2.7 kilobytes and I can't afford it to my 4 users who are in the USA. So fuck that discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing I can say is like, I mean, the way Chakra is architectured now for V1, I mean, you can literally install whatever, I mean, the specific package you want, right? So if you want to just use the model from Chakra UI, I mean, you can only install the model, and you just have just the model.
So that's
And
possible now in 1.0?
Right now, yeah, it's possible in 1.0.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I guess there's, for people who have the excuse, I would use it, but I don't want to use all the components. Now you can use just single components.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the biggest issue with reusing these components in css-in-js libraries is anytime you find a component, it's styled with a different library. So I was like, just imagine the world if a group decides to go with, you know, just Chakra UI and whatever else. Just imagine the amount of reusability we're gonna have if we just use the same API for styling. But usually you're gonna find one component that's styled with less, you're gonna find another pop-up component that's styled with sass, a third one with some custom, and like we're constantly reinventing chunks of components and not being able to... I don't have the hope that Chakra will do this, and or any other component library will make people be like, oh, this is it, let's all use this. Because developers love reinventing more than they want solving problems. So I guess we'll always be in this loop of reinventing the button forever. Someone,
I think it's totally fine because I feel like it also helps to move the industry forward. I mean, I only think that there would be concerns or have issues if we just keep reinventing things that are very low level.
Yeah.
Right now, I know like a couple of tools that actually, I mean, make sense. I wouldn't say they're alternative to Chakra UI. I don't think they solve the problem Chakra UI solves. But I think like you can literally these days put together a bunch of tools if you need to build your own design system. But at the end of the day, I feel it boils down to the engineer. I mean, you as the engineer, what matters to you, what matters to the business.
Yeah.
Then you have to make your choice.
Exactly. I completely agree. So it's great that you can import individual components. That's awesome. And I have a couple of use cases already where I would like just to pick 1 or 2 components. Smashboy says, how long is the stream chat? There's too much going on in the chat for me to keep up, and I still have questions, so I guess we're leaving your questions for later. We have time. We're gonna make sure to address your questions. We have more than 30 minutes left. Yeah, Praneed had a question here that makes sense regarding the tabs. Do they only work with index, or is there a way? So, you know, anytime I'm thinking of a UI that I want to build, immediately I have the thought of, oh fuck, that's gonna be too much this or too much state or too much that, and I just try not to build the UI. And Chakra has been reducing that to a certain degree. When I think like, I want to have a few radio buttons and one of them is gonna pop up this and that thing is gonna pop up a dialogue, now it doesn't seem, you know, so like it's gonna take me hours. I think in terms of minutes. But we had this issue with the tabs, that the tab making control tabs, it's still, you know, here and there. So is there a way to control them with strings, or is there only a way? Did that change in 1.0, or they're still controlled by a number?
Right now, I think they are still controlled by a number, but I think we could document a couple of best practices with them. I think that's like the major issue here. Most of the time when you get stuck, it mostly has to do with the usage or how you're using it. And maybe there's just a little gap in some parts you didn't think about correctly. So I could definitely like take some time to understand this scenario you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then let's just like document a couple of best practices to help people move with speed.
All right, awesome. Maybe we can do that after the stream, or I can just send you a DM just so we don't take a lot of time. I have a question that's been bugging me since I started working with Chakra, so I want to get straight into it. I already have this project that I wanted to talk about, so maybe do you want to use the latest version of Chakra, or is it fine if we use 0 point something?
Yeah, I think
it's fine if we use 0 point something. I don't want to you know, manage the other project and shit. So yeah, I've been trying to build this thing that it doesn't matter in this case. I just want to give an example here. I can even call this whatever, and we can make const index something else, and we can just put like a box here with some paddings. Kitze, that's not how you write a box. You need to do a return, and you've been a developer for 10 years. You still don't remember that. Great. Yeah, let's just put a box that's gonna have a bunch of padding, and let's just put a button into it, and then I have a couple of questions. As soon as Untitled imports these things, that's gonna happen soon, I guess. Import, cool, and then just call this my fancy button. And now let's go and see how that's gonna look like if I'm in localhost. Yeah, there's my fancy button. Okay, the UI actually doesn't matter. I want to talk about the code side and about reusing the components. So we've been doing a mixed approach in all of the project. Basically, we had like 3 different approaches, but I never feel that one of them is right. So if I want to have a button with a bunch of behavior, basically I want to give a bunch of props, but also maybe some behavior. There are 3 ways. I can do like my button props, and here we can put things like, we can put the padding of the button, and we can put like the variant color of the button, and we can put a bunch of other things, and then we can spread them on the button. And that's one way to make this button reusable. A second way we've been doing it is just creating a component like my fancy, like literally a React component, not a styled component, and then just doing like a React component that's going to return a button, that's going to take all of the props basically, and it's going to spread them. And then here we would put the rest of the props like this. Variant color red or whatever. Thank you Untitled for not closing that. And the children basically are going to be part of props, so we don't have to do that. And the third way we were doing it is, what the hell now? JSX button has no responder closing tag. Yeah, I didn't close it. And then the third way would be like let's say fancy button is gonna be styled, and then we put the button in here, and then we just pass a bunch of props.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you just scroll up a little bit or scroll down a little bit?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you cannot see from my head. Great, awesome. So yeah, these are the 3 ways, but I never felt that one of the ways is right. Usually this is not a very common scenario, but sometimes you have something that sometimes you want to reuse the props from the thing, but sometimes you want to take the props, but the props also might include some behavior. So are there any best practices here, or what would you suggest to do in this case?
Okay, so interestingly, we are working with V0.8. So I mean, I can give you some best practices in V0.8 and best practices in V1.
Give me in V1. Forget about 0.8.
Okay, cool. So we have, I think in V1 we created this concept of a style configuration object. So I mean, think of it like, I mean, any component has a concept of a base style, which means for a button we have this base common style shared across all buttons, right? And then we also have this key called sizes. So I mean, I can maybe just show you a bit what that looks like if you open.
Is that in the docs?
Yeah. Can you open theming component style?
Component style.
Right. So if you scroll down just a little bit to the last part, because you don't need to see all of this.
To the last part?
Yeah. Scroll up a little bit one more time. A little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe not just this. Scroll up again.
I'll scroll as much as you say to scroll.
Yeah, just keep scrolling. Yeah. Yeah, you can stop here. Exactly.
Done.
So we have the concept of a style configuration, just like you can see. The button has a base style. So these are like common shared style, regardless of the size or the variant. And then we also have the concept of sizes. Right, in these sizes you can define for small and medium, you can define the styles for that. And then we have variants as well. So in this, I mean, with this API, you can actually author your own variants or your own sizes for buttons. Right, and then there's also a last little trick called default props. So I mean, with the default props, you can define the default size and variant. So I mean, this is one of the ideas we want to explore for V1, and then literally see how people react to it and see how easy it is to compose new component styles and new component behavior.
Here's my reaction. Fucking awesome. Love it. So yeah, I've been thinking of something like this even when I started using it, but I like the API. I like the API, and I like that you can define your custom things. One thing that I might forget, so I'm gonna keep this open. Will there ever be a way to have like I mean, the way would be just overriding the box component, but it would be nice to be able to add your own shorthand props that would be available to all the Chakra components. Like we have MT for margin top, maybe something like CH for center horizontally or whatever. Is there a way to do that with the new V1 without actually making a React component that understands the new prop?
Yeah, right now in V1 there's no way, but I've been looking a lot about there's this like really cool css-in-js library called Stitches that was just recently launched by Modules, right? So I mean, I think they have this really cool utility that we could look into. I mean, I think it's a really nice css-in-js tool. So we plan to look into that to enable Chakra users have this feature.
That's awesome. Actually, the guy from Stitches who's working on model, Pedro, he messaged me and told me about Stitches. So maybe we'll set up a stream with him if enough people are interested. Because honestly, like if I'm 100% honest, I don't want to move away from Chakra, and I love the API and I love the philosophy and everything else. And I'm doing these streams honestly because I want to learn more about the thing. I have some certain questions and I want others, you know, to learn about the thing. But if I don't actually, if I'm not interested in a thing, if I'm not actually, if I wouldn't, you know, tell other people about it and be excited about it, I don't want to do a stream just for the sake of doing a stream. So
Yeah,
I'm
right.
doing this stream because I'm fucking excited about Chakra and I want to know every single, I don't think we're going to be able to cover every single possible thing in the next 20 minutes, but maybe we'll set up another stream for like a few months later and we can discuss more.
Yeah. I
So
think
this
that
is
would be
awesome, and I think this covers and answers my question regarding reusability, because now we've been doing a mix of this and it never felt right. Sometimes we even did this and then we just did fancy button.default props or whatever emotion has. But every
Yeah.
time you involve emotion, you're like, something feels fishy here. Why am I even you know, involving that? I just want to use Chakra and nothing else. So that's awesome. I have another question regarding the theming. So something that I did, let me just undo this entire fucking mess that I did here, and just go back to this index. So if I go to whatever file I had, the app, I guess, I have the theme provider, and the theme looks whatever the hell it looks like. I think it's a custom. It's just nothing fancier than a standard custom theme. But what I did somewhere, let me just find a file and see if that can be covered with one. Yeah, I think it's this section templates. Thank you for following, by the way. I don't see who and how. Someone subscribed at the beginning of the stream, so thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you, and thank you for following. Anyway, in this, like the thing that I'm building, this thing is basically like a set of a set of components for building landing pages with Chakra. Because I've tried to do this last year with I think with styled components or something else, but the API wasn't flexible enough and I just bailed on it and I just shipped the landing page. But now I wanted to make a new landing page for React Academy, and I didn't want to do it with style components, and I was like, I'm gonna do it with Chakra, but I'm gonna think to make the components reusable by other people. So granted, right now it doesn't look that pretty, but I've been trying to think about the API, and I've been trying to, for example, I've been doing this live on stream, so if you're interested in this, follow. We're gonna do it together. We've been copying some components from like Stripe. So this is a component from the Stripe landing page, and basically you can pass a bunch of props. And you can, so the idea is, as easy it is with Chakra to build some default UIs, I want to build a set of components that's going to make it easy for someone who doesn't have any design experience and so on to just combine a couple of components that look like this, like hero with a couple of things, or let's find that stripe thingy. Probably it's called, no, there it is, stripe section. So this is what it looks like. You pass some image, or you pass a wrapper, or you pass like the titles, descriptions, content blocks, and basically by passing all of these props, all of them are overridable basically, and you will get a section that look like this, even with no design skills. It should be like responsive, and it should be properly typed, 100% TypeScript support from top to bottom. So it's aimed at React developers only, so who want to use Chakra UI. So it's a very, very specific niche, but I've been trying to build it. And the way the theming is done, which I wanted to discuss, is there are 3 themes. They're not, and there's gonna be more. So there's gonna be, so it's like dark theme, there's light theme, and there's like gray theme somewhere in between. So what that means is, because certain sections of the app will be themed with different themes. So it's not just, it's not like here where you have like one big toggle and it just changes the dark and the light. So that's one scenario, but here you have like different, you want all of this to react when they are under a certain theme. So what I did is, there's like an enum with the theme key. So this is the theme key. And then there are the text variants that could be inside of this theme. Their text, title, description, heading, and subheading. And then in the section templates, you define, for example, for any, what is the blue doing here? I forgot how this, oh no, this is a section template. So in a section template, you can override how different things look under a certain theme. So you might be saying, when the section template is blue, I want the theme to be dark and I want the background to be like this or like that. Or for example, here you have, when the theme is light, I want the text to be color black, I want the headings to be gray 800, I want the subheadings to be gray 600, and I want the icons to be color black. So all of these are keys that you would later use in your components. Unless you use the correct key, it won't get the correct color. Because sorry that I'm going on a long, you can tell me your thoughts after I finish explaining what I want to say. Because it's 0.8, if I go to just Chakra, which I have here, these are the old docs. Basically in the color mode it says to do this, which is very tedious to do all the time. It says like to read the color mode in every component and then decide whether it's gonna be under a light theme it's gonna be like that, under a dark theme it's gonna be like that. But this gets very, repetitive when you have a lot of components. So whatever the fuck I did here, will it be easier to do with version 1? Would I be able to say under different themes that are not only light and dark, this is how I want my components to look like under that theme?
Okay, right. So I'll say maybe the first thing I would say is right now in V1, I think the color mode is still fixed to light or dark. I think we could try to just expand it a little bit so you can accommodate a bit more. But definitely, yeah, it's possible, right? So one of the cool things with the new theming API is can you just open the V1 docs a little bit?
Yep. I think they were this one. Yep.
And just scroll down here in component style towards the end on the page. I mean.
Oh, towards the end of the page. Cool.
Yeah. Let's go towards the end of the page. So we have the concept of
this
styling multi-part components. So if you scroll down a little bit, so this is a component here. We have a component that has multiple parts, right? So for example, I would assume that you have your heading, subheading, and then title, whatever you want to have. You define that as the parts, and then you create a base style object for the multiple parts. And if you have sizes as well, you can also create sizes for the multiple parts. And then you can literally like consume this API in one component, and every other child of that component just reacts to them automatically. So I assume that this will be able to help you. And then I mean the other catch to this is that each style can be defined as an object. That means it can be a style object, or it can be a function that returns an object. Right? When you use the function approach, it gives you access to the color mode, and then you can just use the color mode to do whatever you want.
Well, that would basically solve it. The only downside is there's only 2 themes, and I'm assuming there's gonna be at least 4 or 5 different themes, because here I'm theming sections, and I want to have at least few people would be able to add their own themed sections. And basically the idea of this to be open source and extendable, so if people come up with a red looking section with specific things, they should be able to do that. But I guess just the way of styling the sections will be different with V1. I actually super regretted that I spent weeks on thinking about this philosophy with the old version, and now everything has changed. But I'm looking forward to thinking maybe with the new version everything is going to be simplified, and I don't have to do my hacks and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I think just generally without Chakra UI, just thinking about this API that you have right here. I mean, can you just go back to the API? Let's just see what it looks like.
This?
Yeah. So I think generally speaking, I would naturally maybe just break this a little bit apart and make it just look a little bit simple. Maybe figure out, like, let the user just pass an option called like the color mode or the theme, whether you want it to be light or dark, and then I would just like manually just manage, literally figure out how to manage all these different styles. But I think the fact that we are repeating text variants.text literally every single time, I feel maybe like we could possibly improve that a little bit, instead of having to repeat this over and over again for the different color themes. I think it might be tedious.
I think that I haven't worked on this for a couple of weeks, so I already forgot how it works. But I think that if you don't specify a theme, every section basically has a theme. So if you go in section, by default, everything is light. And unless you specify one of the sections, then it's going to take just everything that's from light. Basically, we need to do a separate stream on this. Maybe you can join me once when I'm working on this API, because I don't want to take too much time.
Sure.
People want to learn about other things. So even if when I'm looking at the code, I'm like, what the fuck were you doing here, Kitze? So maybe we can leave my weird shit for another stream. Let me see if I have... We already answered how to reuse. Oh yeah, there's one big thing that I rebuilt for one of my projects. I don't remember which one was it, and an update is downloaded. Not now. One thing that I've been missing is an easy way to pop up, just like you had toast. I would love to have like an easy way to pop up like a dialogue, and that dialogue to be not just a single field or a confirm or whatever, but to be like something like use confirm or use dialogue. So I did it with combining the dialogue and putting it in a store and having a global store, and maybe I'll open source that. But for the last project, I got too frustrated by using this manually, and I just used, I don't know if you've seen this, like Sweet Alert V2. So basically everything that's here, it would be super nice if it comes out of the box, because these are like super common things, and like the Chakra way of doing them is a little bit too much boilerplate. Maybe something changed in V1, but yeah, look at this. Like this is so unneeded, but anyway, they added it there. Usually I think it's this kind of thing for confirming, and something with a simple inputs or 2 inputs or something like that. Is that on the roadmap? I think other people had questions regarding date pickers and other things and so on. So maybe while answering my questions, whether this is on the roadmap, you can tell us like, is this on the roadmap, and what other things you have planned in the near future, not 2 years later or something.
Yeah, I think for this use case, I mean, we could definitely try to, I mean, attempt to document best practices. I feel like it's possible to definitely achieve this API that you just showed me from Suite a lot. I mean, it's just a few more, and it's just a few things you need to do to achieve that. So I think maybe documentation might fill this gap a little bit, or maybe not just documentation, actually creating a video of how to make that. And then when we actually do that and use it, and everyone gets to test it and use it, if we get good feedback from that, I think we can just add it to the core library itself.
All right, that makes sense. Anything except the thing that I mentioned, like people asked for date pickers and so on. So one thing that I want to mention for people who are watching this and they haven't tried Chakra or whatever before is I don't think that of course the value of the library is that it has so many components out of the box, but I also like that it provides the accessibility layer and the way of styling with the props. So I didn't mind that there's no date picker or whatever, but I guess people would choose it based on whether it comes with components out of the box or not. So can you tell us like what is in the like near future coming on the roadmap? I guess date picker would be, but
well, I mean, what I can say, I'm not sure if date picker is part of it. Yeah,
all right.
I'll say like we have a couple of components in the pipeline. I think we have pagination coming soon. We have rating, and we have carousel. I think these are the initial components that would come after V1 is released. And I say this because I have personally built them already. I mean, I've worked on them already. We just need to like figure out how to compose them, I mean, in a way that's for open source world. Because most of the time when you build stuff for your local project, I mean, it might not exactly fit into the open source space.
Yeah.
Because it might not be flexible enough, and you might need to style it however you want. But I think that these 3 components are coming next. I mean, I also know we might have a select and multi-select coming very soon as well. And then after that, then we can maybe consider adding a date picker to the mix.
All right, fair enough. I have a few more things. I'm so sorry, chat. I think we answered everything except I had one dumb question at the end that doesn't matter regarding React Native and stuff. But we can completely leave that. I have one last thing that I have to ask. Then we're gonna go rapid round through the questions that the chat has. We still have time. We still have we can go for 20 more minutes. Because I took most of the stream. I'm sorry, chat. I'm really sorry. I have too many questions for him. Well, Kitze, you should have DM'd him so we can ask him questions now. I'm sorry. Layout style components. This is a package that people have been asking me about all the time, basically. Oh, yeah, I have this open. This is how I did the thing, the use alert. So this is the way that I wanted to do it, basically. It's before doing something, like for example this, selected lesson, whatever the fuck this project is, I don't remember. Before that, I just want to get something from a user in an input. So and I want it to be timed. So I just did this like await prompt, wait for prompt. So I think Suite Alerts has a similar API where you can just do await. And it's very non-React way of thinking to await for a UI to pop up. But it's very convenient to have await, show this dialog, have a form in it, give me all the values from the form back so I can continue with the execution. Because otherwise it takes you away from the flow. Where do I render it and so on and so forth. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think you already knew what I meant when I wanted to use it as a hook. So just like the use toast. What I wanted, is this component. So when I moved to Chakra, I started using the, what were they called? The flex, the stack, I think it's stack. So before using Chakra, I used this layout style components. Whenever I was using style components, I open source this thing that's totally not documented. Probably it says coming soon or whatever. Oh no, actually somebody added a readme for me. So thank you whoever added the readme for me. I'm lazy, and it basically just allows you to have like vertical or horizontal. But the catch is it has so many like helpful props that let you like basically everything that you can do with flex. You can do it here by saying like invert equals true or reverse equals true. So this can be even a combination, whether you're reversing the space, not reversing from horizontal to vertical, but also reversing the layout of them. So basically I did this in a very hacky way before I saw Chakra. So when you have like spacing, if you do like L vertical and spacing equals 15, then what it does, it adds this style. So basically any child that's there, it's gonna get margin in the direction of the thing, and then it has important.
Okay.
And yeah, it has a bunch of other things like full W does full width and full H does full height, because with the Chakra way, with the things, I still have to remember the flex syntax, and the flex syntax is fucking annoying. And that was not the first issue that I had. When I saw Chakra, I tried rebuilding this thing with Chakra props, but I noticed that the way you add margin is not as hacky as this. So I noticed that some things would space out, but some of them wouldn't. I don't know what is the underlying implementation of these tags and layouts, but I'm pretty sure that it didn't work in some scenarios. Are there any changes there, or?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so right now in V0.8, I mean, the stock component requires you to use like a Chakra component as its child.
Yeah.
I mean, so that it can pass the correct margin, because we used our clone element. I mean, behind the scenes, literally to just like inject the margins based on the props you pass. I think in V1 we are no longer using a clone element. We are using pure CSS. Right.
Okay.
So I mean that makes it easy to like use any div if you want to use a div or a span. A normal HTML element, you don't have to use a React component there, so it's just going to work really well. So if you check the stock documentation now, you can just click that and you can literally just style anything you want.
You can put anything you want. I think that was my issue, because I noticed some elements didn't, and I was like, probably this is cloning them. So I'm glad that that's fixed. I can just slap the extra things that I have, like full width, and I have this like center H and center V. So for example, you might have a horizontal stack that you want to center it in two directions, or you want to center it only horizontally, or you want to center it only vertically. This is basically me being lazy and never learning the flex syntax. But I'll try to just rebuild whatever I have here with the new stack prop instead of doing my own whatever the fuck I'm doing here. So I'm happy that that's in V1.
Yeah, so just, I mean, I think one extra thing to note is now we have like convenient component built off of stack. I mean, like H stack and V stack. So you can literally just use those props to build like a vertical or horizontal stack. I think we omitted that in the doc, so we'll just add that back soon.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So basically we answered all of the questions that I have, except the 30,000.
So I mean, if you take a look at the example we have now on screen, maybe it might help. So if you scroll up a little bit, here, just this part. So you can see we use a V stack there, and we also have the ability to pass a divider between.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So you can do that, add spacing, align it however you'd like.
That's awesome. I'm so happy. This stream made me so happy. It's not even funny. Basically all of the issues that I had with individual things were solved. Even if the issues were there, I'd still keep using Chakra for everything. Let me go quickly through. Well, there's so much to scroll in the chat, and I'm gonna try to keep. I'm gonna go to the top, and then we go top to bottom. Starting from Zico, who said, "Hey Kitze," and "Hey both of you." So hey, no, we're just gonna read the questions. Let's try to see if there's anything interesting that we need to cover. Plans for a date select, we already answered that. With heart from the Chakra React. Oh, so other people from the Chakra React team are watching. I don't know if they're still watching, but shout out to you. We changed the way icons work, blah blah blah. We all answered this. You are regulatory. Kitze, somebody said, Gaurav said, Kitze, I know you don't like views. Look, I don't phrase it like that. Actually, I don't use Vue. It's not like I don't like Vue. As soon as Vue has JSX, I'll be there. So to answer your question, he asks, ask about the Chakra Vue roadmap. So maybe a short answer about what is the root. I didn't even know there was a Vue thing, but yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, had no idea.
Yeah, so we have Jonathan working on the Vue version for Chakra UI.
All right.
I mean, I think right now he has made lots of progress with the Vue version. I think the release he created works really well, and I think he's still trying to get it to be like super stable for production use. I mean, so I think we might just need to give him a bit more time to literally fix most of these. And I mean, I think here I would say if you know Vue a lot and you're willing to contribute to the project, I mean, I think Jonathan will really appreciate some more help and support.
Yeah. TLDR, PRs welcome everybody. Help them with the view thing. Next up, iGerbo has the weirdest question ever. Is there a reason for the accordion to move the scroll position when opening a tab while one is already open? I cannot even imagine what that is. But again, is there a reason? Oh, okay, this is way too specific in technical implementation. Let's just go with more philosophical things. Probably better to ask in the view area. Yeah, there are no links allowed in the chat, everybody. Sorry for that. You can whisper things to each other on Twitch. If you want to send someone a link, you can just whisper them the link. Does Chakra version 1 has programmatically controllable toast? Wasn't the toast? Oh, no, it wasn't. Or it was. What?
Yeah, sure.
I think it was. I don't know what they mean. Gaurav asked. I don't know what you mean, Gaurav, by programmatic. I cannot even pronounce it. But I think it was already.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, so there's this use toast hook we have in Chakra UI, the current version. I mean, you can just like grab that, I mean, call the hook, and you have access to a function you can call programmatically to show a toast.
Okay. So Drigger asks, so 1.0 doesn't use style system and theme UI under the hood? It
1.0
does?
uses, I mean, 1.0 still uses style system, but
Okay.
what we've done so far is to use the core of style system. Right, so we are no longer using style system as a package.
Okay.
I mean, we are using a smaller package from style system to just help us like be a little bit lean. I mean, when it comes to like the execution and the size, I mean, of our functions and code.
All right, awesome. He says that I was using Material UI for internal tooling, but will definitely check out Chakra for the next project. I've tried Material UI. I've tried everything else. The way of overriding the styles is a little bit painful. So
Yeah.
I'll look into that. I think, Wow, there's too much going on in the chat. I guess thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you who came today. Let me see if I'm missing something else. Whew, we'll get there. I've been researching how to do authentication on Electron app and mentoring a new team member. Somebody's talking about Electron in the stream. I'm gonna skip over that. All right, components I would like to see built in: table, select, and swipeable drawer, date picker. So keep that in mind. Tafelito says they would like to see table, but select is already in Chakra.
I guess it's referring to like a custom select.
Oh, custom select. I don't think so. We did this. I'm gonna show you this awesome thing that we did. This is we were wondering whether to find a component. So the new version of CZ will have this thing, whatever you call this, a spotlight, where you can just go to any project or to any device, or you can be like open something in editor. And this is built with Chakra pop-ups. So we were thinking whether we want something or we want downshift and Chakra. So we just decided with downshift and Chakra, because the Chakra UI is so flexible and downshift is so flexible. We might publish, it wouldn't be a bad idea to publish this component. It's using fuzzy search, downshift, and Chakra UI, and basically it gives you this this pop-up. And I'm happy that we can customize any layer that we want from it. So I guess you shouldn't build the components that are already easy to build with combining few other things, I guess, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of headless libraries just like downshift as well. I mean, I feel like that's the beauty of Chakra UI. I mean, you can grab any headless component library that exposes a couple of hooks, and then just like build up the UI with Chakra UI. I mean, I do this a lot at work. I mean, literally, we also build a custom select very recently, and we had to use downshift hooks, and I mean, I think it worked pretty well. Yeah. So I mean, a nice combination of downshift and proper.js, for example. I mean, for dynamic positioning of the select, I mean, I think that would do the work most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. So do you maintain any list of like community packages of components and stuff that are gonna eventually not make it in the library, but they're gonna be recommended to use? I've never seen that, but it wouldn't be bad to start like a list of third-party components so people can look at them and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. I mean, I think would work to add that at least to the new documentation, so everyone can sort of get to see this.
Because my goal was, because now we're using it in the actual app for CZ, and we're using it for the landing page, and we're using it for all the admin projects. I'll try to we'll try basically to open source as much as we can. So if we see a piece of UI that makes sense as a solo component, we'll try to open source it, and it would be great if there's a maintained list of things somewhere. But yeah,
Makes sense.
table is something that has been discussed. Okay, that's with heart. Thank you, by the way, with underscore heart, for answering the questions in the chat. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Date picker and
awesome,
table.
Mark.
Yeah, somebody subscribed with Prime. Aaron McAdam. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate you. Somebody was spamming links. Somebody maybe said Redux. That's why you got banned. You got timed out, but that's a joke, so don't worry. You can say Redux. What else? Wow, there's too many things. Oh yeah, actually I covered most of the questions. Tiny round of applause for myself. You can pass toast as a function, blah blah blah. Praneet asks, do you plan to expose popper props? That's a funny thing, popper props, to have manual control over the positioning of pop-ups, menus, etc. Yeah, so again, do you plan to expose popper props to have manual control over the positioning of pop-ups, menus, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's really hard to tell what you mean by pop-up props, but I assume it has to do with things like updating the placement or updating or forcing the popper to sort of update itself. Maybe when the content changes, stuff like that. I mean, right now, I think in V1 we expose a use popper hook, right?
Oh,
and that's
cool.
coming straight out from popper.js, so you can literally leverage that component to sort of position any custom components you like. I mean, for Chakra-based components, I mean, I think like the menu and the popover that use popper.js internally, I mean, I think we could definitely like expose a couple of more functions and properties to help you like control how these components are placed.
Yeah, that's awesome, because we've been doing some weird shit with pop-ups and stuff. So I guess that's why Praneet, by the way, is on the CZ team, and he's working on CZ. So I'm super happy that we made the transition to Chakra, because otherwise, now when I go back to, I have few projects that don't have this API. And when I have to just manually do things, it's like, why were we doing things? Like, just coming up with the names for every piece of the UI, it's annoying. Even though it's style component and it's not classes, just coming up with the name of the chunk, it's so freaking annoying. So yeah, I think we covered everything, and we covered most of the questions in the chat.
Awesome.
Two last things we need to cover is, before we started the stream, you had some questions for me regarding streaming and starting to stream and teach. Maybe we can have a couple minutes discussing that. For people who want to start streaming, maybe it's going to be valuable, or teaching online or whatever. So we can do that part, and then we'll get the fuck out of here.
Okay, awesome, amazing. Right, so so one of the things we want to do as Chakra UI core contributors, I guess, is to be. I mean, one of the challenge I have as well for myself personally, is sort of to like help me become more comfortable doing a live stream, right? I mean, I want to be able to jump on a live stream. I mean, to just like live code like a real product from start to finish, for example, in a weekend. I mean, just like the amazing folks like Marx did with Feedback Fish. I think that those are really interesting live streams, and I think live streaming and sharing videos, is also one of the core things that open source libraries should also embrace next. I think a documentation site is good, but I see it as a reference, like just like some reference manual for components, right? But actually, like educating new users and existing users using video and live streams and live coding sessions, I feel like it will take the library to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if people see you building with it, it's pretty valuable.
Yeah. So the question I have now is, I'm currently trying to move to a new space. I think by next week, and I want to set up a live stream studio, at least something like that really works well. So I just want to get your advice on, for example, the setup, equipment to buy, and what recommendations you have really.
Yeah. I'm gonna give more of a generic advice, because I'm writing an article on my stream setup and stuff, and it's gonna be somewhere, I think there's gonna be a page here, you will see it in the chat, with my streaming setup, because it's like one of the most complex things that I have. I can describe easily everything else, but the streaming setup is way too much, and I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. By the way, I loved that I spent the past 5 days on building an app with Chakra UI and launching it live. And as an example, you were like, some of the amazing people like Mark building live, and I'm like, okay, then I guess just ignore me fucking promoting Chakra for 5 days. So I guess also there's some awesome UI libraries like Tailwind. I'm joking. It's fine. People have been amazed watching how much you can progress in the UI with building Chakra. with using Chakra. So they were like, oh, whoa, what is this? Anyway, regarding the streaming, I would recommend anyone who's watching my streams or whatever to go back and watch the first streams, because it was just the shittiest camera that I have. No light, no green screen, no fancy video backgrounds, no widgets, nothing. So the thing with live streaming is, even 1.5 years later, it's hard for me to press this like start button. So even 1.5 years later, I'm sitting and just looking at if everything is alright, and there's always hiccups and stuff. So the advice is, take the shittiest camera that you can, and that's usually the Logitech C920, and just open the channel, announce it on Twitter or wherever, and be like, hey people, I'm starting with streaming. That's it. You can cut out your face, put yourself in the corner, you don't need green screen, or you can use this zoom hack that we're using right now. So without a green screen and so on, and then see if you actually like streaming. It's more about, you know, engaging with the audience, and it's more about whether you want to actually talk for I did a 12-hour stream and I didn't stop talking. There wasn't a minute of silence in that stream. So you have to see if that's the thing for you, and if you actually want to build, or you're gonna get all the equipment and the fancy lights and the cameras and shit, then you'll be like, oh, actually I don't like that. So I'm gonna DM you if you want the current gear that I have, but just as a generic advice for everyone who's looking at other people doing things, whether that's streaming or recording tutorials or posting hot tips on Twitter, answer the question whether you want to do it. Because sometimes, you know, people get, you know, jealous of whatever the other person is doing. Oh, they made a tutorial on that. If I did that, I'll get the views or whatever. But maybe you don't want to do that. So that applies to streaming. Start with some equipment, just start, and then build on top of it. And stream quality of course matters, having a nice mic, having a nice light, and so on. But I think at the end of the day, people want to see what are you building, and people want to, you know, engage and have a fun stream more than they want to like a classic tutorial scenario. So it would be pretty awesome if you join me on, I mean, if you're one of the streamers who's building with Chakra, because I haven't seen many people live streaming with Chakra. Usually in my stream there are questions, what is this and why and blah blah blah. So
okay, cool. I guess we have a deal now. So definitely I'll join you. On your streaming sessions. Maybe not all, but I think most of them.
Yeah, we can have one when I'm building something like this landing page thingy, when I'm thinking about the API. But I meant it would be awesome if we have one more streamer who's using Chakra on stream. That would be amazing. Great idea. I don't last in the docs. They have screencasts. Yeah, screencasts, videos, a video way of promoting things. It's an awesome way. And building live, I think it's one of the best ways. Not necessarily one of the best ways, but it's a great way of promoting whatever you're building. Yeah, one thing that happened before the stream, and we're gonna end up the stream with, I asked Segun if he's using CZ, and CZ is the browser for developers. Butchered your name there. I called you Segun. It was Segun, right? Try to pronounce. What is my name? Say it.
Kitze, right?
Okay, that's it's there. So I don't need to feel bad.
What's the correct pronunciation?
Yeah, it's the correct pronunciation is Kitze. But I guess everyone call it Kitze, Kitze, somebody calls me Kitze, it doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, so when I asked you whether you were using CZ, you told me, yeah, I'm using it from time to time for checking responsive design. And that's one thing that I want to mention at the end of the stream, that we've been working on this for more than 1.5 years. And if you go look at the changelog, we added some pretty insane things. So we removed the tagline of the browser for responsive design, and it's now just the browser for developers. So you can use it in full mode like this. We have all sorts of crazy panels, plugins, features. And the thing, there was even something that I saw right now before the stream that pissed me off, just comparing CZ with other responsive tools or whatever. It's not about that anymore. And I think the dialogue that I want to show to people who are watching still, for some reason, thank you, is that in CZ you can manage all of your projects. So me, for example, have 30,000 projects on my disk, and I want an easy way to like open them in Finder, open them in my editor, or just write like open React Academy landing in editor or in Finder or whatever. So you can see your bookmarks here, you can see your to-dos here, you can see your notes here, you can store your passwords here, you can open the project in Finder and editor, easily switch projects. We put this like browser within a browser that has like pin tabs. For example, I always have Chakra or Mobex State Tree. So as I'm switching projects, I always want to have easy access to like the Chakra icons, for example. I'm always forgetting them, or the Chakra colors or whatever. So these are the tabs that will never change. They're here. And these are the tabs that I have across projects. Anyway, I don't want to make this too much like a promo. Even though you talked about your promoting your thing for 1 hour and 15 minutes, I feel guilty promoting my thing for like 3 minutes. I don't know. It feels awkward. I just want to encourage the people who haven't tried CZ in a while to not think of it as the browser for responsive design, to think of it as the browser for developers. Because we're really we're using it exclusively ourselves. We're trying not to use anything else. So we're trying to make it like the best for ourselves and the best for the users. So yeah, check it out. Anything else that you wanna, basically your Twitter and Chakra UI was rotating all the time in the chat, so those links are already posted. But do you want me to post anything else in the chat or something that people that need to know except your Twitter and the Chakra UI page?
I think maybe not anything else, but I just want to say one last thing, which would be like, I mean, I just want to take the time to sort of like appreciate like everyone who has contributed to Chakra UI so far. I mean, I feel like Chakra UI, I mean, will definitely like dominate the industry over time. But I feel like I really want to appreciate everyone, the core contributors of the Chakra team. You guys, I mean, you guys are really amazing. Thank you for taking your time to sort of help other people, I mean, with issues and on Discord and all those stuff. I mean, for those who are looking to help with Vue as well, I mean, whether you're thinking about it or not, I mean, thank you either ways. I mean, just like, I mean, I really appreciate like the support. I mean, whatever thing you can do to help move the project forward in general. So thank you.
Yeah, round of applause for all the contributors and everyone else. And I'm proud to say that from this morning, CZ is a bronze sponsor of Chakra. So we started sponsoring the project. Yeah, and I promised the people on stream even a few weeks ago that I need to start sponsoring open source. And I always postpone it because busy and this and that. And this morning I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it before the stream. And I should stream more. I should support, especially like CZ as a team. We should support more projects, but Chakra is the first one. And I'm happy to see it evolve, man. Also, thank you so much for joining me on stream. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. I still have more questions. Hopefully we'll schedule another one. You can follow Segun at the links that I posted. So the links was rotating all the time. I'll put it one last time here in the chat if you haven't followed him. If you haven't seen the link, it's guest and you can check out CZ here. And that's it. I want to thank you very much for watching. Me and Segun are going to have a short chat after this without you. So I can ask him 30 more questions. You're never going to get them. No, I'm kidding. Just going to say thanks. And yeah, I really appreciate you watching and sharing the stream on Twitter and everywhere else. I'll see you in my next stream. That's at some point. And I'll keep talking to Segun here. So thank you for watching and see you. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.